This episode of Comics for Fun and Profit is brought to you by Threadless. More importantly, the Comics Fun Profit shop on Threadless at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com, where you can find, about half a dozen different designs, plenty of Comics for Fun and Profit themed merch. If you just want a t-shirt, you're good, and if you want sweatshirts or other swaggy items, and you can get anything. Phone cases, shower curtains. It runs the gamut. Skateboards, I think. So check that out. We've already sold several. We're excited about the fact that the folks that want to support us in this way are able to and wear our merch out in the real world. That's pretty exciting stuff. So get your Comics for Fun and Profit branded items at comicsfunprofit.threadless.com.
Aloha! It's Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing writer Paul Cornell. He is here to promote his latest series, Con and On from Ahoy Comics. The first issue comes out on Wednesday, July 12th. It comes out a week before San Diego Comic-Con starts, and issue 2 comes out on August 9th. Paul, welcome to the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm very fine. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, Paul, thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing this. Now, Paul, I'm going to go over some of your past works. Please feel free to correct me at any time. Listeners, Paul has an incredible has written some amazing things. He has written a number of Doctor Who novels, such as the Eighth Doctor's Adventures, The Shadows of Avalon. He has written the Shadow Police novels. He has written a number of stories and novellas such as Rosebud and a number of Jonathan Hamilton stories. He has written a couple audio dramas, such as Splinter Cell, that was co-written by Sebastian. And Paul, forgive me, I'm gonna try to pronounce Sebastian's last name. Blasterwisky? Blockeriski?
Well, yes, we can make an attempt at that. I think that the list online of the things I have done is startlingly varied and kind of all over the place. I'm a bit of an all over the place writer. I've done most things in my time. I've done Doctor Who in every available format, including the TV show itself.
Yes.
And I mean, I say every available format. If they did grand opera or sock puppets, I'd be up for that. But I'm mainly I am a comicer, I am a novelist, I write audio, and sometimes I write games. And so I've across the course of I think about 27 years now, I have done much that is offered to your freelance writer.
And then also to one of your audio dramas, Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
That I just mentioned, it now correct me if I'm wrong, it won the 2023 Grand Prix Nova Award in the drama category. Is that correct?
Yeah. We won an award for that. Quite pleasing. BBC Radio 4 deciding to get into the podcast drama market. We got the computer games company on side and did a drama set in the world of Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, the game, with effects and sound and music from the original game. And hugely successful, really pleasing to be part of that. And I'm so glad the team have been rewarded with an award.
Yes, well, I'm going to say congratulations. Yes.
Well, thank you. I mean, that was literally like 3 weeks ago, so I'm delighted.
All right, I'm going to continue on. Paul, like you mentioned, you've written numerous novels, stories, comics, screenplays. I'm going to mention a TV show that you've written a screenplay for, just one. It was Elementary, the episode.
Yeah.
You've Got Me, Who's Got You?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Delighted to work for Rob Doherty and his amazing team. Me and Rob put that together over one Christmas, and it's because it allowed him to knock his writer's room off early and give them a proper Christmas holiday.
Yes.
So I got to experience one meeting with that incredible writer's room of his, Robert Hewitt Wolf, people like that, big brains.
Oh, yes.
Then they were gone and they knocked off for the holidays, and me and Rob put it together over the holidays. And it was a great, great pleasure. I think it's still very underrated. I think that's one of the great TV shows. I think it'll gain and gain in recognition, and I'm delighted to have played a teeny tiny part of it.
So cool. And also too, like you mentioned, you've written a numerous comic series, Saucer Country with Ryan Kelly from Vertigo.
We're nearly there with the Kickstarter. We've got all the art in. It wasn't literally a Kickstarter, it was a crowdfunder. We're just about ready to send off our completed editions to our backers. We have finished Saucer Country, I'm delighted to say.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back. I'm off the cuff questions. So I'm sorry. So I'm just trying to clarify. So the sauce, you guys just finished the Kickstarter? Is it on the?
Yeah, we never got to finish Saucer Country. We did a series with Vertigo, a series with IDW, and there were about 5 issues of story left. And so I approached Zoop, a crowdfunding company, and we finished it up. And we're going to come out with what we call the completed Saucer Country. In one volume, collecting everything, including an ending. And for those who've been on board all along and have bought all the issues, the ending is a separate issue as well. Because we don't want to, screw people out of money they don't have. So if you just want the ending, we'll sell you just the ending. And that's been very, very successful. And I'm delighted to say that, we are just the lettering short of having done that now. And then we're talking to a lovely, lovely designer. And I have only one story untold left to tell, which is the Shadow Police novels now. But I'm determined to finish my career having finished all my stories. And this was a major step towards that. If I seem a little all over the place, a little bit not on point this evening, I have literally run back from having played in a cricket match 5 minutes ago. I took 2 catches and scored precisely 1 run. Thank you for asking. But I'm really pleased with my 2 catches, though. Well, hey.
Thank you very much. Real quickly, the Saucer Country on Zoop. Do you know when you guys will be launching that crowdfunding campaign?
We're done. We've launched.
Oh, it's done. I'm sorry.
It's all gone. If people listening want to join in, they are welcome to drop me a line on my webpage. I have a public email that you can drop me a line at. And Zoop have been very good about adding people. But no, we've got all our backers in. We've nearly finished. We are literally about to deliver.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, okay. All right. And then one more thing I wanted to add. In 2018, you are co-hosting with your and I'm going to try to pronounce. Is it L.M. Miles? Your co-host?
L.M. Miles. Her name is Lisbeth Miles.
Okay.
We are co-hosts of the Hammer House of Podcast.
Yes.
Where it's a podcast where we're watching the Hammer horror movies in UK release order. We are nearly there. We've been at this for about 5 years now, and we're about 8 movies away from the end. And it's been a terribly satisfying experience. I recorded one this morning.
Oh, okay.
So that's something I'm immensely proud of. And we'll have some kind of sequel. We're just working out what that would be, because we have a lovely Patreon audience. And they've been terribly supportive, and it's been great fun. Do you like Hammer movies?
Actually, I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. I think the last time I saw the Hammer movies was when I was really young, back in the 70s. That's all I remember of the Hammer movies.
Yeah. Best time to see them.
But I did listen to one of your recent episodes that was released on June 14th, episode 64, where you guys reviewed the 1972 Hammer film The Vampire Circus.
Oh, yeah, not a great movie. We found something to get our teeth into, but we like it when it's a good movie, and that's not a good movie.
Yeah. But I think the other, sorry, I'm kind of going off the cuff here. Real quickly, because I love the behind the scenes information that you gave, because like you said, this movie was never completed. Like it was kind of like all of a sudden it was making it, then all of a sudden, boom, it ends. Yeah.
Yep. They had the boss of Hammer who just walked onto the set and said, "You are at the ending of your filming time. Whatever you've got, you're done."
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was kind of put together in the editing suite from what they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it just about hangs together, but we have notes.
Yes. But that is so cool, because I mean, that's nice, because this movie is 50 years old. And it's nice that you, like you said, you guys still have notes, because back then, I'm sure when, hey, we're shutting down, that's it, you're done, you figured all the notes would have been tossed out, or
Yeah. And there's a lot of shots in that movie of people in silhouette desperately explaining the plot to each other.
All right. Paul, I'm gonna ask, do you want to add anything to your list, or
honestly, no, you've come up with a bunch of lovely things from across my career.
Okay. All right. Before I start asking you questions, I want to give a big shout out to Hannah Bahedri of Superfan Promotion for setting up this interview and for the advanced reading copy. Hannah, thank you very much. I'm going to ask Paul. Paul, would you like to add anything to that?
Oh, yeah. Well, Superfan Hannah has been tremendous. I'm doing so many interviews about Con and On. There's been such a lot of interest. It's been delightful. Ahoy, who make Con and On, are a wonderful company to work for. They're desperately ethical. They care to a fault. They want to make good comics.
Yes.
And working for them is really reassuring, and just this is just how comics should be.
All right. Now, also, too, I want to mention to our listeners, I did get some of my information from Screen Rant's article, Ahoy's Con and On, to tell the truth, hilariously, history of Comic Cons. That article is dated on June 10th of this year. It was written by Joe Anthony Merrick. If you get a chance, please check out this article. And I came across it on Paul. I came across it on your website. So this is the perfect segue for you to promote your website, your social platforms.
Oh, well, if you go to paulcornell.com, you'll find everything. I'm on Blue Sky, Instagram. That's about it. LinkedIn, that's about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So before I start getting into asking Paul questions, I just want to make it clear to listeners that, that me and Paul may talk about some of our convention experience. Who knows, but I just want to make it clear that, if it's a bad experience that either one of us had at a con or with a guest at a con, we will not mention their names or the conventions.
Oh, but I mean, I wasn't going to do that.
No, yeah. But I just wanted to make it clear to listeners, and because we want to celebrate conventions. But if we had great experiences with guests or at a con, we're going to give a shout out and talk about that. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, Con and On. There are a couple people that wrote some very good things about this. Karen Gillian of The Wicked and Divine. Smart. Funny, smart, sharply observed, does what every great con does. Reminds you that while the medium is obsessed with the superheroes, the superhuman, it's the human that makes it matter, for better or for worse.
Well, bless him. What this is, you see, is we are going to deliver you in 5 issues about 25 years in the life of a big comics con.
Yes.
it's kind of my Robert Altman movie. There's a huge cast,
Mm-hmm.
and we watch how their lives develop across these big leaps of time between
Yes.
every issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the industry. It's about how things have changed across that time in the industry. The last issue is just about up to date. The first one is back in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's satirical, but it's also deeply loving.
Yes.
You know, I'm a huge fan of these big comics events,
Mm-hmm.
and it's full of anecdote. It's full of the anecdotes that comickers tell each other about things that happen to them at these events.
Oh, okay.
And so it was mainly a vehicle for me to tell those stories,
Mm-hmm.
but also we've got a bunch of people who we check in with every few years across the whole sweep.
Yes.
But also in individual issues, we just have a quick page with a driver of a cycle rickshaw, with the people who tidy up afterwards, with the security teams.
That's nice. Yes.
We just want to give the whole feel of what it's like to be at a convention. And it's also about success and failure in comics. It's about how opportunities arise, how sometimes you don't take them. It's the life and death of comickers, and not everybody gets out of here alive across the 5 issues, because it's a long span of time. And some people turn out to be heroes, some people never learn anything. It's kind of the autobiography of a big comics event.
Yes.
Sorry, no, it can't be the autobiography, the biography of a big comics event. But that's the nature of the title. And it's got, one of the things I'm very pleased about doing is the very last thing I do for every issue is I write a commentary track, like a DVD commentary track,
Oh, okay.
which is represented in captions in every issue by a fictional historian who's looking at this from the future and knows what happens. And it gives an even, a distance, a satirical distance on the events we're seeing. And that's my favorite thing to do, because I see what Marika Cresta, the wonderful artist on this, has done.
Yes.
And I can tailor that to, individual expressions and things like that. And just give a historical perspective to some of this stuff. And I'm very pleased that like we have one of the greats of Golden Age comics editing who pops up in issue 1.
Yes.
And who is gone, who's deceased by issue 2. But who has historical allegations against him.
Yes.
And who's never brought to book for that. Who's got a statue in the foyer of his comics company of him. And by the end of issue 5, he's still got an award named after him. That's what we're talking about, how the industry has changed, but also how it stayed the damn same.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's what we're about.
I'm going to comment, because I think the one thing, and I just read the first issue and I can't wait to read the second issue, is it looks at just the first issue. It looks at everything, warts and all.
Definitely warts and all.
And it's not just about we're going to look at the dirt side of the convention, but we're also looking at the bright side, because it covers everything. Because we see Eddie and DJ. Oh my God, they're so excited to go. The convention has moved to a bigger location. They can literally walk up and buy a ticket.
I did my research, you see, in 1992. You could you had about 20 minutes to queue to get into, say, San Diego Comic-Con. And you could buy a ticket at the door.
Yes.
And so that's what they do. They are startled by the fact that there is a half-hour queue. And that's one of the things I'm doing. Nobody's got a mobile phone in 1992. In 1992, the mobile phone is for a millionaire.
Yes.
And so it's the perspective of a lot of stuff that
Yes.
we think of as intrinsic to comic conventions. There's one of my characters is an actor who, in the first issue, has just appeared in Star Trek: The Next Generation as
Jeff Kent.
Yes, Jeff Kent as a supporting character.
Yes.
And he is appearing on a television panel
Mm-hmm.
at a comics convention,
Mm-hmm.
which everybody's a bit dubious about. I mean, why are they doing that? I mean, is anybody going to show up?
That's right. Yes.
And that's changed a lot.
Yes.
A lot in that time. And so, yeah, it's that. It's the... my favorite characters, I think, are the three English comicers.
Oh, yes.
I have three English comics creators who are somebody who is very dapper, somebody who is a cosmic explorer, and somebody who is a wild man. Yes. And I think actually that covers everybody in the first wave of English comic creators. And, you know, one writes satirical types, but there's nobody outside those three. And they are people I'm very fond of between them. I'm fond of a lot of the real individuals represented by them. And their story is kind of a heroic one across the 5 issues. And so I'm delighted by that. And yeah, so this is what we're doing. We are showing a perspective on the industry across time.
The other thing I love about the first issue too is not only are we getting the young creators, Eddie and DJ, we have your legendary creator, Julius Cronuncle. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Caruncle. He's the historical abuser who gets the award named after him. Yeah.
But also too, what's really nice is that you have these 2 young girls with their fathers. They first go to the convention and they're so excited because one goes, I'm going to get a drawing of Batman, you know, and
we keep going with those 2 girls who are toddlers across the whole sweep of the 5 issues.
Yes.
And honestly, their bubble never gets punctured. They are continually delighted all the way through to the final issue, because I thought somebody should be.
Yes. Let's see.
Because that's me, honestly. I'm somebody who's in love with several of these events. I would love. San Diego Comic-Con is immensely close to my heart. And there are so many aspects of that delight me on a cellular level. And some of this, I actually pop up, I think it's in issue 4, because I have an anecdote that happened to me, and I thought, well, rather than give it to one of my fictional creations, how about it's just me?
Yeah.
And I'm very much the butt of that joke. And I just thought, well, let Marika draw me, and she's made me very handsome, which is for the best. But I asked her if she wanted to pop up on there's a women in comics panel where they first start to protest the idea of a women in comics panel, and I said to her, if you want to be in the comic, you could be on that. So, but no, I just thought, you know, if one is not made to look heroic by an anecdote, but instead the opposite, and it's a completely harmless anecdote, why not make it me? So I did, you know, I'm there showing off my my love for this convention too.
So I'm going to ask, what was your first convention that you went as a fan?
Oh, well, it was a Doctor Who convention. It was a John Pertwee appearance in the 1980s, maybe early 90s, at a London Doctor Who convention. And shortly afterwards, I think, or perhaps it was before, I went to the enormous Longleat celebration where Doctor Who jammed tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people into a stately home that couldn't deal with it. It's our Woodstock. It's Doctor Who fans of a certain age, that was where we all were, that's where we all met each other. And
Yes.
Yeah, so that was, I think perhaps that's my first one.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm off the cuff question. How many Doctor Who actors have you met and have you got their autographs?
Oh boy, let me see. I have I've worked with Eccleston,
Yes.
David Tennant.
Yes.
My wife wrote for Peter Davison, and I was there. I know Colin Baker quite well. I know Sylvester quite well. I've written for Paul McGann. I met Pertwee quite a lot. I met Tom Baker fleetingly. I corresponded with Patrick Troughton. Who haven't I covered? Never met Matt Smith. Oh, except there was that birthday party of Stephen Moffat's where I met him on the way out. That's it. So lots is the answer.
Yes. And then off the cuff question, since you are doing you're doing the Hammer movie podcast, have you met any actors that have worked in the Hammer films?
Actually, today, because we're dealing with a very late Hammer film, I've written for James Bolam, who was in Straight On Till Morning, when one of the late Hammer movies that we've covered. And my co-host Liz has written for Tom Baker, who pops up in a couple of them. But no, not any of the leads. I mean, my co-host Liz is a huge Peter Cushing fan, and we both wish we could have met him.
Oh no, yeah, it's
But no, not anybody who's majorly known for them. No.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I'm going to get back to the questions.
I think I've probably covered tons of your I've just talked and talked.
No. But I wanted to ask was like, ever since the pandemic, have you been back to cons recently? Did you?
Yeah. I came back as soon as I could, really. My two great loves are San Diego Comic-Con and the Gallifrey One convention in Los Angeles, the Doctor Who convention. And as soon as the pandemic allowed,
yes,
I did that. I got COVID for the third time off the last San Diego Comic-Con. And I think I got it off George R.R. Martin. And, which, if you're going to get it off somebody famous.
Yes.
But the third time round is kind of like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty damn immunized now. I have many booster shots. I've had it a few times.
Yes.
I think I'm going to get through this San Diego okay.
But I'm going to ask you, how was it? How did it feel for you to be back at the cons after such a long?
Oh, well, because you are initially very nervous, and the size of the crowds. The nature of crowds changes after the pandemic. In Britain, at least, we've now very firmly pulled out of pandemic mode.
Yes.
So there's like this strange 2 years in our lives where the rules have changed.
Yes.
And I cannot help but think that left a footprint on our psyches. And every now and then I'll be in a big crowd and go, oh, shouldn't be here. This is wrong. But it's sort of like learning to ride a bike. It goes away again. You sort of go back to your But yeah, there is a bunch of stuff done to the human psyche by the pandemic that we still haven't really dealt with.
Yes,
especially children. The classes that my young son is autistic, so honestly, the pandemic for him was like, wow, I get to stay home. fabulous.
Yes.
I think he barely noticed the pandemic, but but no, the his classes, they are different to the classes before and after. They are much less socialized, and there's that little blip of children who didn't get to hang out with all their peers for the longest time.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I digress.
No. I'm just sorry to hear about your son. He stayed home during the pandemic, and now he goes back to class, and it's a little different.
It is all the same to him. He is that is the nice thing about autism, that one tends to treat the world like Spock. One treats it as it comes, with a calm and equal nature.
That's good to hear. You talked about working with Ahoy and how great it is to work with Ahoy Comics. How did you team up with Ahoy Comics, and how did they come up? Did you present this story to them, or?
Yes, I think I did. I had been impressed by what they were doing, and I asked if I could do some stories for one of their horror comedy anthologies.
Oh yes,
Edgar Allan Poe's Sniffer of Terror.
Yes,
and I was so delighted by the resulting comic and by the experience of working for them. I pitched them a series, and this was it. I'd always had in my head, you see, the idea that I would write a murder mystery set at one of the big comic conventions. And when Ahoy came out with comics that were comedic in nature, and this is sort of their unique selling point, that they do comedy.
Yes.
I thought, well, I don't necessarily need the murder. I could just, I could just talk about the stuff I want to talk about.
Yes.
And they were very open to that. So it's been a delight. Tom Payer, the editor, is one of the best editors I've worked with. I love the fact that every one of their comics comes stuffed with extras.
Yes.
You'll get some prose or a poem, or some. They feel like they should present a real magazine with stuff in it.
Yes.
And that's very satisfying.
That is true, because I thank you for reminding me of all that, because in issue 1 there's a short story of why won't you follow my hamster on social media.
They've got Grant Morrison writing them a serial across many of their titles as well. It's lovely.
Yes. How did you and Marika team up for this book?
Ahoy offered me her, and she did some amazing character design.
Yes.
She got the characters straight away. This never happens. And she's just very good at acting, at character expressions, at conveying what it's like to be in the line for a media panel all night, stuff like that.
I'm going to ask what issue are we going to start seeing those lines?
It's issue 3 or so.
Okay. I'm sorry, that's right. Because the first issue, they walk in, they can go up to tables.
Issue 3, the lines are in place for TV shows like Heroes.
Yes.
And everybody's going, wow, Marvel have a movie about Iron Man coming out? Iron Man?
Yeah.
What a strange hero to start to do a movie about. Yes,
I know that when I heard that was crazy. Yes. All right. Do you want to give shout outs to any other your team members that helped you on this book? I know you already mentioned Tom Payer. So like Paul Little, your colorist.
Oh yes, I was going to say the color art is terrific. He's got a real sense of California, of that Californian sunlight.
Yes.
And there are things like a park which is home to both those coming out of the masquerade in their costumes and the homeless, which faces onto the bay. And that has a very particular color feel to it, and he's got it. And
And then I know Rob Steen is your letterer and logo, I think logo design, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
and did a great job.
Hmm.
I think lettering is a very undervalued art.
Hmm. And then I think you have an associate editor, Deron Bennett, is that correct?
Oh, Darren is a master letterer. So I think
Okay.
it will be his lettering company that has provided the letterer for this issue. So he's sort of
Okay.
the letterer general for.
Hmm.
He
And
did the
then
lettering on I Walk with Monsters, which was terrific.
okay. All right. And then I know you have the artist Mar I know he goes by this name, his artist name, Morissette, the cover artist for cover
Oh
A.
yeah, yeah. We've got some lovely alternate covers, some of which are deeply worrying and satirical, and
Yes.
I think some of them stretch the boundaries of what you would see on the comics rack normally.
Hmm.
There's one which is just our hero in a big comic convention bar,
Hmm.
um, throwing up something green, and it's very apt for the issue. But that's weird to see on a spinner rack.
Yes.
It catches your eye. It brings you in.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Now, the next two questions, I'm joking on this part. So, will Tom Pyre make a cameo in any future issues?
He
Because,
really should,
yeah, okay.
because he was there. He's been there. He's done that. He's got an
Hmm.
immense history in comics.
Hmm.
But no, I didn't think, honestly. And Tom's
No,
very self-effacing, so I really should have thought.
no, no, no. I'm just, these are just, I'm just joking because I know he made a very subtle cameo appearance in the final issue of another Ahoy comic series, Guilt.
Oh,
It
oh,
was
I
pretty
didn't
funny. You
know. Excellent.
yes,
He's kind of recognizable, it must be said. All that
yeah.
hair.
And then I'm joking on this question because as people know who've read Ahoy comics, Dragonfly Man was the one that they first start off with. So was it a mandate to always have either a Dragonfly Man cosplay in the background in your issues?
I think we've got something like that. I mean, the Death Master mask that
That's right.
our actor decides to wear to go
Yes.
incognito across the floor at the comic convention, that looks quite like one of the established Ahoy heroes, I think.
I'm gonna say I remember because yes, that's right. Because when Jeff Kent, that's right.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
actor. I when he had the mask and he's talking to his publicist, I was going, that mask looks so familiar. Oh, okay, that is so cool. All right. Um, what are your I'm gonna start wrapping things up. Three more questions. So,
Sure.
um, when is your next convention appearance from now to the end of this year?
Well, San Diego. I have, I think, 5 things I'm doing. The first of which has been announced. I'm doing a signing at the tour booth. And that's as always. Me and my little gang, we
Mm-hmm.
have a hangout the night before
Mm-hmm.
in a restaurant from which we can see the convention center. And
Uh-huh.
it's like we are prepared for good hunting over the next few days. And it's always the most extraordinary experience. We've got a couple in our group who've never done this before as well. And it's always
Oh my
wonderful to
God.
see this through newbies' eyes.
Mm-hmm. This is an off the cuff question. Um, I know you've met a lot of the Doctor Who actors. What was who um comic book creators? Who was the most exciting creator that you always wanted to meet and you finally got to meet?
Well, I mean, I got to know Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I worked for Stan,
Mm-hmm.
and on the Boom Stan Lee line,
Mm-hmm.
we all assumed, I think, going into it, that he would be kind of a figurehead, a
Yes.
little distant. And when the line was announced at Comic Con, he was late to the announcement because, as it turned out, he'd had emergency root canal surgery that morning. And yet there he is, just 10 minutes late, bursting into the back of the room, calling out, "Hey, true believers," and coming up to the front, giving us all this amazing introduction, summarizing our comics, saying why we will all be great to write them. And then backstage after the panel, having done the Huckster bit,
Yes.
This is a man in his late 80s, having just had emergency dental surgery. He's suddenly all business. It's like, you've got to do this, 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 and this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember hour-long editorial calls from him across the Atlantic. I think I got 2 sentences in.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the sheer energy of the man.
Yes.
Those 2 levels, both sales and talent and actual editing.
Yes.
I am a fan. I was a fan before. I was hugely a fan after. Stan Lee deserves every bit of the plaudits that he gets. Yeah, that's my answer. That was my favorite. I am privileged to have been in the presence.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Have you and your family been to Hawaii?
No, I'd really love to.
Oh, okay.
Where are you in Hawaii?
I'm on Oahu. Yes. So yeah. So basically we're in the major, well, yeah, it's like, you know, Oahu is basically the urbanized, you know, the state capitals here and so forth. Yes. Okay.
And it gives you this extraordinary time zone, doesn't it? I mean, your everyday interviews with people in the States even must be quite something.
Yes.
But and so thank you very much for fitting me in across the hours.
No, I'm going to say thank you very much, because I think for you it's almost, what is it, like almost 10 o'clock your time, 10 o'clock at night?
Oh yes, but you know, it's not even dark yet.
All right, final question. Any closing words to our listeners?
Oh, I really hope you'll give Con and On a go. If you're a comics fan, there'll be stuff you recognize in here from your own experiences. And you know, I'm immensely proud of it. It's a story I really wanted to tell.
All right, Paul, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to interview you. I wish you all the success with Con and On. I want to thank Hannah of Superfan Promotions for help setting up this interview. So, you know, and the advanced copy. So Hannah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And like Paul said, if you are a new comic book fan and are new to the conventions, or a lifelong comic book fan and a convention goer, please check out Con and On. Again, it's from Ahoy Comics. The first issue comes out on Wednesday, July 12th. Issue 2 comes out on August 9th. I read the first issue. I love it. And like, the reason why I love it, it's a love letter. As Calvin Scott said, it's a love letter to convention. It shows from, as we talked about, me and Paul talked about, it shows from every aspect, from 2 little girls to their first con, to literally Annie, the owner and bartender, you know, to see like, oh my God, what is this going on? It's all the perspectives, you know. But overall, even though the conventions are huge and so forth, it's the thing I love about this, the first issue, and I know I'm going to love the other issues, is all the little interconnecting stories that really makes up these conventions. So yeah. I want to thank Drew, the host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And Paul, I'm going to put a plug out for your podcast too. And if you get a chance, if you love the Hammer films, please check out Paul and Liz's Hammer House of Podcasts. So that so if you get a chance, please check those out. I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys. Aloha.
Thank you very much.
The good folks at Comics for Fun and Profit have been doing 2 episodes a week for quite some time now, and it's all thanks to, first of all, Jason, and second of all, our patrons, who allow us to add the space on our server, broadcast more, store more, share more with you, the listeners. I'm envious of those of you who have unlimited storage and media server capabilities. We pay for ours here at the C4FAP. It ain't cheap. We thank you so much for those of you who go to patreon.com/comicsfunprofit and contribute at any level to say thanks, to say, I want to be a part of your Slack channel conversations. I want to get exclusives. I want to get early access. I want to get ad-free access. I want to get swag. I want to get some free stuff. Whatever your reasoning is, we appreciate it at any level because it does make a difference. So from the bottom of Kyle and I and Jason's heart, thank you for contributing.